Crazy portfolio. Is there any magic to that?
I'm also procrastinating a lot.
Just be real with me. Tell me, what do you think about American industrial design students?
Sorry for stealing your jobs.
To me, it's actually very sad. There's not enough jobs out there.
Big mountain of student loans you have to pay back. Hi, I'm Lasse. I'm a senior industrial design student from Germany, and I did an exchange semester in Cincinnati last semester, and this is Portfolio Pinup.
Very excited to jump into your portfolio and take a look at it, because when you sent it to me, I was like, is this guy a professional or is he still a student? Because this portfolio, I've never seen the type of presentation. Okay, but before we jump into it, before I share your portfolio, just tell me, why did you pick industrial design as your career?
Oh, good question. I think it started pretty early in my childhood when playing with Lego. Always deconstructing everything, then building my own stuff. Really digging deep into problem solving early in my childhood. And both my parents are also pushed me a lot of my creative in my creative work. They're also doing creative stuff, and then I tried doing internships in 2D, so more graphic design, but I really want to do 3D objects, having something in the hand, letting people use it in real life.
Quality that I see in Germany is really high compared to America or any other country. I think Asia is also very high, Korea and China. I see very great designers coming out of them. So just tell me more about Germany. How competitive is it out there? And is it it seems like it's embedded in the culture of Germany to just have really great design.
As German industrial designers, we are occupied a little bit by the Dieter Rams doing Braun, and also Bauhaus University, even when it's not that popular anymore. But from a design perspective, and doing really minimal design, and also of course German engineering is also a big part. Really digging deep into precise work, and I feel that's the German design culture.
What are some of the biggest differences that you've noticed going to school in Germany, getting your education in Germany, even down to the students and their personalities, in comparison to your exchange program where you've met more American designers, been around American professors and the education system? Just kind of give me a rough overview on the differences that you've noticed.
I'm going to the University of Wuppertal, which is close to Cologne, and they have a study program which is really dialed on the technical feasibility and also manufacturing aspects of design, which I feel it's kind of good to know, because we see something and then immediately we catch up, okay, how does the thing could work, or is it even working? And here in America, I feel it's more trying things out, which is good. I really want to go to America to have that, to broaden up my perspective on design, and also be a little bit more free sometimes in the mind when doing stuff. But here it's more, I don't want to say surface level, but they don't really dig deep that much. But they're more trying things out, which is also kind of good to have as a designer. I mean, it's iterations and bringing trends together, for example. Then I don't know, but having now both perspective, is really valuable. I feel for every designer, of course. For everybody who wants to do an exchange semester, we have also some students coming from Cincinnati to Wuppertal, and they are then going through the whole process of our process, getting deeper into the technical feasibility, I would say. Yeah.
My education, at least, there was a heavy emphasis on how things were put together, how things were made. And then I think the aesthetics and the form of the design, at least the school that I went to, that wasn't heavily emphasized initially. They just hope that you can put those pieces together yourself. If you have a good design taste, you can. And then other schools, specifically certain private schools I've been to, they heavily emphasize form and design in shape over manufacturing and engineering. How would you categorize your school in Germany? Are they heavily emphasized the manufacturing side of it, or more of the form, shape, and beauty of the product?
I think it's like a good mixture of both. Not only, okay, this should be perfectly manufactured, but at the end the form doesn't fit. But at the end it's German design culture is maybe also a little bit like form follows function. Yeah, not going too crazy, but really narrow down why things should look like how they actually look at the end.
I have my own personal standards when it comes to portfolios. I think your portfolio is incredible. I'm really excited to jump right into it, but just tell me, within your German standards, how does your portfolio kind of stack up with your other German classmates?
So in my class, we like to like push each other a lot. So when someone sees, okay, he is doing some crazy renderings, then we teach each other like how to do it, and then all the people are like picking up on the skills, and then try to incorporate that also into their portfolio. I did a lot of research on like web development, or how things look in like web. Like everybody knows the Apple websites where you scroll through and you're just, oh my god, how do they do that? The moving products when you scroll through. The web development aspects of portfolio is getting more and more introduced into the portfolios for our like IDs. I think all the people like in my class are also, so they're also doing like web development now, and it's like somebody has to do it first.
So in Germany, let's say you graduate, land your first job. How much do you expect to get paid?
One reason why I'm interested in America and also coming back is you don't get a lot of money for doing internships in Germany. It's like 600 euro probably, or 800 sometimes, which is, you can't even pay your rent. And I don't know why. It's mostly because if you have to do a internship because your program is telling you to do so, then they are not committed to like a standard pay. And here in America, I mean, you know how much people get here for doing internships, and it's like a big difference. And also when you graduate, I think people here in internships are doing more money than people who are like junior designer and inside an agency in Germany. Of course, if you do in-house design, it's completely different, same as here in US. But the payment is, I mean, you can live from the money that you get, but it's not that high. I mean, it's compared to other countries probably somewhere in the middle, but I think US is pretty high in like salary for industrial designers.
So when you mentioned 700, 800 euro, what is that? Is that per week, per month? What is per month? Yeah, okay, and just to clarify, this is an internship kind of a rate.
Internships for I don't know the actual term, but internships that you have to do.
So 800 a month, I looked it up. The conversion is about $900 in USD. So $900 a month as an intern would be very little, I would say. I mean, but I guess it also really depends on how many hours you're working as an intern. So the internships that I've heard about pay, it's anywhere starting from either you could have a free internship where they don't pay you at all. There's definitely ones out there that are like that. And then there are internships that pay minimum wage to about $25 an hour. And then I've heard there's also the rare companies that do make a lot of money that kind of have a name out there that's an in-house position. Those actually get they actually pay a decent amount, a couple $1,000s a month USD. Let's say you get a full-time job, not an internship, junior designer, first year out of college. How much is that typically salary-wise for industrial designer in Germany?
35 to 40K, which is probably like 40 to 45 in dollar.
That's actually not that much. If you got paid $45,000 a year your first year out of college, that's very low in America. What I've seen, yeah, it's about 50K would be considered low. I think 45K would be considered really low. But what I personally have experienced, anywhere starting 60K to 70 is what I've personally heard from my colleagues, and then also how much I received when I first started. When I first started, I got paid 65,000 a year.
Just for the internships, for example, I have like friends doing in-house. He got like 45, I think, an hour, which is 45, which is really decent. And so I got like 22, which is also it was good money compared to going back to Germany for the intern.
Do you guys typically stick with an hourly rate, or with a full-time job, is it more common to have a salary?
Yeah, it's more common to have a salary for us as interns, at least for the German interns. I don't know about others, but I have heard that it's normally like you do 9 to 5 or more. Mostly it's more. And then you get like, which is good that we don't have to pay taxes here in US. So we still have a lot of good percentage from the money that we get. I don't know, do you like on your first internships, was it also like, how did you handle taxes?
The internships that I personally had, I had a couple that were not paid. I had a couple that paid a certain amount every week, and I had to be there for 8 hours a day, sometimes even 9 hours a day. As far as taxes, they just count it as income. So if you've reached a certain threshold, you will have to pay taxes. But if you're under a certain amount, I think it's like under $10,000 or something, you don't have to pay taxes at all.
Yeah.
How much did it cost you to attend your school in Germany every year?
I think, that's a good point, because probably one reason why as a US employer you get paid more is you have to pay your student loans. Like it's really common in US, and in Germany we don't have to pay anything. It's like 300 euro a semester, so 600 in a year, which is like nothing to compare to US, where you have to pay, I don't know, between 8K and like 20K sometimes, I have heard. And so that which is great, so you don't have a big like mountain of student loans you have to pay back.
Did you have to pay when you went to Cincinnati?
So we have like a good exchange program between our home university in Wuppertal and Cincinnati, because like students coming like that transfer each year. And then we also had a sponsorship or a scholarship from Germany, which was great.
Amazing. I think a lot of American industrial design students are very envying you not being able to need to pay anything for your industrial design education, especially also being able to travel and go to a different country and learn it from a different country and still not being able to pay something. That's amazing.
Yeah, I'm really blessed by that opportunity. It's like also one reason why I picked that university in Wuppertal, because it has like the perfect mixture of, as we just talked about, form and manufacturing abilities, but then also have the opportunity to go to Cincinnati, kind of get that cultural design perspective from America, and then the people or the students from Germany are also getting like good internships here in US, because we have that kind of a broad perspective. And sorry for stealing your jobs. But no, there are plenty out here. Like in US, there are so many agencies. I think that it's not a problem.
Once you graduate, which will be pretty soon, how likely is it for you to land a job? Do you think it's going to be a struggle, or do you think it's only going to take you a few months to land a job?
No, it's normal to get a job in like the first 3 months, I think. A lot of people already have like options to go back to either where they have done their internship.
There's a lot of students that are going through the industrial design programs all across the country in America, but I really think that there's not enough jobs out there to satisfy the amount of students that are going to all these and graduating all these programs. it's a very competitive field. It's very difficult to actually land an industrial design position at a company. So what I found is that a lot of students, they either do something very similar to industrial design. Maybe they're only a CAD person. Maybe they only do renders. They end up doing UX, UI design, graphics design, something along the lines, one of the multidisciplinary skills of industrial design, but they don't really do hardcore industrial design.
Your university, how many, like graduates are like per year?
For my particular year, it was about just under 30 students.
Okay.
And it's roughly around that. I think that's a little high. Typically, it's anywhere from 20 to 30 students that graduate per year, my school.
Yeah.
And I think that out of those 30 students, I would say maybe about 8 people are actually doing hardcore industrial design, and the rest are doing something similar, or they switch careers.
So I know from Germany we have probably like 8 or 10 per semester going like graduating. But there are not that many like big companies. There are more smaller companies, so people tend to go into like not small but like decent size, like 100 people companies as an industrial designer. But to be honest, I don't have that much connection to people who graduated and then going into jobs, so I don't have that knowledge about how many. But I know from there's a quota out there that students from university have like in 3 to 6 months they should have a ID job.
Yeah, to me it's actually very sad because I know quite a lot of students who did graduate from the program. I taught there too, so my personal students as well. Some of them very talented designers, but when it finally got to the point where they graduated looking for a job, they ended up only be able to find contract gigs, freelance positions, but not a full-time actual position where they could really create a good career, stable income to make it as an industrial designer. So to me, that's very sad, but that just motivated me to create videos like this where I can show industrial design work, give feedback, help out as much as I can, and hopefully all of us can make it as an industrial designer, do stuff that we like to do. So just the last few questions before we really jump into your portfolio. What are your thoughts when you saw the American industrial design student work? Like, just be real with me. Did you think it was good work? Did you think that they needed a lot to improve? Like, tell me, what do you think about American industrial design students?
I have met so many like amazing American designers, like design students which are doing like awesome work. I think one big like selling or unique selling point for American designers are they iterate so fast. I'm not really used to iterating that fast. Of course, we also do iterations, but they are just getting their heads deep and just sketching, trying things out, building, prototyping. So that's like a huge USP that every American ID student can really build their portfolio with. So that was my kind of first impressions from American students. And then, of course, there are like differences in like every semester or every program has differences in like students which are doing okay and they also get jobs, of course, same as in my home university. And then there are always those like people who are like inventing the wheel, I feel like.
So initially opening up, we have nice clean thumbnails, very kind of like Instagram-y, 3 thumbnails per row. And all of them have a nice clean light gray background, very consistent with each other. Everyone has the same visual weight to it. I looked through some of it before we jumped onto the call, so some of them are more thorough than others, but I'd like to just maybe jump into the more thorough ones, which I think are probably these 3 up here. When I see something like this, I just think, holy crap, this person's been designing, for 10 years, like what companies have they already worked for? That's the immediate impression that I get when I'm seeing a website just like this. Like maybe I'm even thinking about, So just that opening shot, like I just want to show it again, just so when we click on it, it goes to the lighting rotation, change of angle, and then a nice 3/4 hero shot with powerful lighting, very, very moody and very dramatic with very dark shadows and a very powerful lighting. That's incredible. Like, I don't even know what it is quite yet. You know, something with Starbucks, obviously. Maybe it's a lighting thing. Don't fully know what it's about, but I want to know more.
I really try to have a like storyline, which is kind of that, okay, it catches the audience right at the beginning without even knowing, okay, well, what is that at the end? And this is just keyshot, which is like a keyshot animation going from camera going down, and then there's a second camera who's doing that kind of flip, and there's like a camera change, and then there's one lighting or two light panels. If you refresh again, there are two light panels rotating. So it's just two lights basically rotating, and then one light coming around from the HDR editor. Yeah.
Is that something that they're teaching you in school to do, or is it something that you learned on your own?
Mostly learned on my own. They also do keyshot now. Back in the days, they didn't really teach us keyshot. It was kind of a self-learning process.
I love also that you know, the words that you picked is just nice and bold, single, simple word, and then a little bit of explanation down at the bottom. This is like the perfect amount of words to use. Let's go ahead and continue on. So it opens up with that, and then you see the hand plugging in. Scrolling through, we have some pain points, jumping into the buildup of the project, objectives, something to click on. Very nice, beautiful sketches, well laid out. How did you make a sketch kind of shot like this?
Pin every sketch on like a board and then just take a photo. Also, one thing that I recently learned, if you have like Procreate sketches or Photoshop sketches, then you can just pinpoint a wall with blank sheets, take a photo, and then put your copies on there. There's also one, like the second project there's one shot where I can show that, so we can come back to that later. But then you just do from the type, go to multiplication, and then it really sits on the blank sheet.
Normally what happens is when you export clips, a video out of an animation out of Keyshot, you could either choose to have it be an MP4 or just individual frames of the animation. Once you kind of get that output from Keyshot, how does that eventually convert into something that's on a web page?
For the whole website, I used Framer, which is perfect, I feel like, for designers, because you can do everything there, like even those Apple-like scroll animations, which there's also one in there. And which is one thing which is good from Keyshot is those MP4 files are really, really compressed. So this file is just 2 MB, which is good for a video file. It's like 4K, 3000 samples. So it has like really a high resolution, but still highly compressed. Because you, as you just mentioned, you can also export just the frames and then put them into Procreate, for example. Not Procreate, Premiere Pro. But then the files end up being really large, so you don't really want to have big. If you do website or your portfolio on a website, the videos and photos should be really small. So, for example, for the photos, I used Lightroom, and then just the standard Lightroom export feature for JPEGs, and photos in general shouldn't be larger than one megabyte.
I think the quality is perfect, and all of the loading times is very fast at the same time. So there's a good balance of what you have going here. Is there any magic to that? Like, are you doing anything specific?
It's like trying. Like the video on the right side is like V10, I think. Really try to have the perfect mixture of like good quality but low file size, and then just play with the values pretty much until you're satisfied with the result. So one thing I have learned, that if you want to have the feel of the portfolio being really cohesive, then you want to have just gray. So the pictures, the video is just gray, or a little bit of blue, or like orange for the hand, or like skin color. But everything else, you don't really want green or a lot of red or warm light in there.
Sometimes not all designers have that sensibility. They're thinking too much about one thing or another thing. But when you're putting together your portfolio, a lot of it, the work is already done, the design is already done. It's more of now putting the effort into presenting it in a nice and beautiful and pleasing way that intrigues the viewer and want them to see more about your design and just really fall in love with your work. I think all the color corrections that you did is well worth it. This is a beautiful shot here. How did you make a shot just like this? Did you have somebody just hold a camera above your head and have them take a picture of you, or do you set up a crazy tripod?
No, there was a friend who helped me, so I just laid out. It was also after the product was finished, so it's kind of faked.
And what kind of camera are they taking with it? Is it just from your iPhone, or is it like an actual DSLR mirrorless camera?
Some pictures are with a Sony camera, like a good one, and some are with iPhone, and then try to. Also, sometimes I use like AI upscaling if it's not looking too fake. To have to reduce the grain of photos.
What kind of AIs are you using?
Mostly Google AI upscaling, and then pick the first one.
So it's kind of like a browser-based one that you just kind of search on Google.
Yeah, it's Magnify AI upscaler.
Mm-hmm. And what is this pen? Let's take a look at some of these tools that you have. So you're using an iPad. It looks like a older style iPad with the button on it. You have the older first generation pen. Are you using that often to create your design work? Just this iPad here?
I use like Shaper 3D as a program on the iPad sometimes. Recently, not that much anymore. But back when this project was created, I like sometimes really fast trying things out. Also, sometimes to have a CAD overlay to sketch on, which is great.
You're using Shaper 3D. Is this something that you built the actual CAD in that, or did you build it on a computer and then you transferred over the file to Shaper 3D?
No, Shaper 3D is good for fast iterations, just trying things out on the go. And I use SolidWorks. And
what kind of marker is that? I've never seen a marker like this before.
I don't know. It's just a black marker.
What kind of markers do you use nowadays? Are you using Copics or?
There's one like big pen. I feel like it's the best. So this one is I used a lot at my internships so it's Pilot Fineliner. I don't know if you can see it. Shit, you can't. Mm-hmm. The beauty shot. No, it's not working. And this is perfect because it has a really flexible tip. So you can do really small lines with this, like ISO lines, but also really big ones like shadow lines just with one marker. So this one is great.
I remember when I was going to school, I experimented so much with different pens and markers, and I would fall in love with some, and then I would get out of that and try something else, and then really like that. Yeah. The trusty one was always the standard ballpoint pen.
Definitely.
From Bic.
Yeah.
I would buy expensive ones, and then I would lose it, and I'd be so sad. It was like a $10, $20 pen, and then I just always went back to the Bic. Cheap, super cheap. You could buy a whole box of them, throw them around, have them anywhere. Okay, so then it looks like you have some just very rough renders, sketch-like, with a very light render to this. Is that something you made in Procreate?
Yeah, that's early Procreate stage. Just just visualizing the idea of how this thing would actually work from an interaction standpoint.
Little bubbles here that show where you were taking the inspiration from, which is very cool too, and it's a very well laid out and beautiful to look at. Some more photos with the hand of you working, probably your buddy holding the camera above, taking a photo. Very nice. Everything looks very well laid out. Colors look great. Kind of muted, but also very punchy at the same time. What is like the kind of things that you are thinking about when you are editing these photos? You mentioned, having a more muted color, but what are other things that, like saturation, contrast, black points? Like what are you thinking when you are editing?
The first thing I'm trying is killing all the warm color. So don't have any like warm color from like a ceiling lamp in there, but still have the skin color being orange. So in Lightroom there's one feature where you can just pin one type of grayish color and then desaturate it all the way. So all the way throughout the portfolio, I try to have no warm color in there, just purely gray or having a little bit of blue. You
took just the same amount of time, if not more, to actually put together all of these pages to present it in such a nice way. I mean, that's really what a portfolio is. It's like the work on top of the work. You have to design the product, go through the phases, do the user experience, the 3D printing, like what we see here. Just really develop an awesome portfolio or awesome work, an awesome product. But then now it comes a time where you have to present it and you have to show everything that you've done, all the pieces here. Just like this shot that you have here with all the different 3D prints and different parts. So this is like a prototype that you built out and you actually had try to have made and working.
So I cooperated with a 3D printing company who did all the 3D printing. So I did the engineering and they just printed this stuff. So I had a lot of parts. Just was kind of nice process. Remembered me of playing with Lego because everything fits together quite nicely. And then there's this kind of cool shot, everything laid out. This one, which is, to be honest, it's key shot and it's just a hand photoshopped in there.
Yeah, so I noticed that too after looking at it deeply. It does look like a render that you added a lot of noise to it, try to make it look like a photo. I think these shadows really sell it. The hand really sells it to make it look like it's an actual photo.
Yeah.
What are these screws also Photoshop too, or is it in Keyshot?
This is also Keyshot. That's why some of them are like a little bit in the ground. So don't zoom too close. No, I'm kidding.
I mean, it looks great. It looks really good. And the engineering that you did to this is like, it looks so professional. I think this was, again, going back to the idea when I was looking at your portfolio, is like, how long is, like, what companies has he worked at? Because this looks like a full-on professional product that somebody made for a company. Like, tell me, like, what went into just engineering all of these things, all of these bosses, making all of the internal structures. They're teaching you that in school, or this is just something that you already kind of know?
I didn't know that before. So the initial brief of the project was to develop a power cord or power supply. And then we did a lot of research on just normal power supplies, also deconstructing them. And then I caught attention to a problem, like in public, where people, if you don't have, like, if you're out of battery in public, like, you are not in a good spot, I would say. So people tend to go to Starbucks and try to charge their phones. That's how this idea was made. But also the project brief told us this at the end should be manufacturable. So I did a lot of research, just mirror board, gathering a lot of informations about how things actually look. So I was just looking at stuff, like internal parts, and then kind of, like the thickness is always like 2 millimeter at every like point, so there's no part which has like a big clump of plastic, for example. Yeah, and that's like it's just research, looking at stuff, and then try to translate that into your product, and that's how all those parts are made, even like with this little deboss stuff and the ribs, for example, because I've seen stuff online which has those ribs, those internal structures, whatever, so I know, okay, probably this is how you design it or engineer it, but it's not like engineered by a real engineer. It's more from a visual aspect that it just looks right.
I see students that try to do stuff like this. They kind of like have this exploded view and they show the internal parts, but it doesn't quite look right. It still looks very amateur. It still just looks too simple in a way. I think how you did it was you executed it so well. All of this to me looks very real. And you said that you looked at real products, you opened them up, you studied how they looked like, and then you kind of just implemented it into your own design. That's exactly the way that I learned too. I look at products that are already out there. I just study them. You look at them for 30 minutes to an hour over the course of a week, and you just see what they do, and then you just replicate it in your own work. And the stuff that, like, just the detail that you were able to add to all of this, like, it just screams like it's a real freaking product, and you did it so well. It's crazy. I'm just so mind blown. Then you have this beautiful shot here. This is kind of like, I guess, the opening to the final result, I imagine. Two of them, two different angles, hanging from how they should be. Great animation. And I also noticed the little thing that you did too, where you kind of blur out the top. So as I scroll, things just kind of fade away nicely, which is a nice subtle thing. Beautiful shot here too. All the different components, the power, the cables that are going into the product, so how they would be used. Shots just like this. So did you make this in Keyshot here? Just like the transparencies?
You can do like the or you can filter opacity in Keyshot. And then one big thing that I learned in Keyshot is like if you or black is always 0 and white is always 1, and if you catch up on that and you understand how Keyshot works, then you know, okay, if I have opacity and I want to lower my opacity all the way to like 10%, for example, then it's like the overall brightness of a color is like 0.1, and then you use that as a opacity layer on like parts that you kind of want to hide, and then it's like just a tier which kind of then cuts the product right at the angle. So I don't want to show all the like the interior like the parts inside, because I want to have the focus on the actual pulley system. So you can pull it down and there's a counterpart going up and all the internal parts. So yeah, this is the...
Oh, wow. Okay, here we go. Look at that. Okay, so you go boom, comes off, shows the internal structure. As I'm scrolling, it's going through the animation.
Yeah.
Exploded view. Dude, just look at all the detail that you added into this. It's insane. Okay, nice.
When you use Framer, you have like a lot of different components where you can... That Framer has a really big community, so there are a lot of components out there, for example, exactly for things like this, where you can scroll through and then there's a video playback through the way that you scroll through the website.
Framer, is that a free program to use, or did you have to pay for that?
It's pretty much free when you build, and you can also have Framer free on there's a domain where it says yourname.framer.com, So you can use that, but if you want to have your own like URL, then you have to pay for it. It's like 15 bucks a month.
Not only is it the form, the product, the engineering, but eventually you get to the point where you're rendering it, materials, colors, lighting. Yeah. And then also another layer to that would be just some of the printed graphics that are on the product, whether it's kind of these regulations, maybe it's just fun graphics pointing to a button that tells what the button functionality is. Just a lot of these layers to really take your time, add in the details, make it look like a finished real product is well worth it, and then you end up with such an amazing realistic looking portfolio piece, even being an industrial design student project where it's not really manufactured, it's not really mass produced, but you want to sell it as if it is.
Yeah, that's true. Just from a light standpoint was the new ads coming from Airbnb. So they also have those orthographic shots right at their room. Maybe you know them, and they are really, really cool ads, and that has a good inspiration on lighting, for example. Lighting coming through the window, a little bit of bloom in there, and then this hard shadow from something like a sun going through the window into the room.
The wood is rendered very nicely. You probably use some sort of a texture map or an image of some sort. This doesn't look to me like a key shot material.
No, it's I think it's PBR texture from probably Texture Can. Ambient CG is the best platform for free assets for keyshot PBR textures. AmbientCG.com.
AmbientCG.com. Okay, yeah. Very nice. We dug so deep into that portfolio piece. Let's just go through some other ones real quick. Sheesh. Look at that. Oh my goodness. Very nice opening animation. Let's just scroll through this one really fast. So you have some... what were you doing here? You're giving a presentation in your class or something?
This was more like emphasized client work. So there was a big research part on... So this was with a security company in Germany called ABUS. This is one portfolio piece which was the result of this like client work. And this, for example, is a shot where it's just blank pictures. Or blank sheets, papers, whatever, and all of them are in Photoshop, like layered in Photoshop on top. Yeah, some things you can't really prototype because they're too big, and I use Gravity Sketch to kind of iterate like just sizes to understand. So this was a kind of public log for bikes, and I have to understand sizes also for like bikes, how much space you need in between.
How does it work? Is it on an iPad, computer? Is it free? And is it easy to use? Kind of just give me a broad understanding of Gravity Sketch.
So if you have a VR headset like the MetaQuest 3 or something similar, then it's on the device, so you don't need a PC. I know there is also a Gravity Sketch for PC, so you can connect that to the MetaQuest to have higher graphics, but even the graphics on just the device are pretty good. So you use both controllers to kind of sketch in 3D, and it's a fun process. It's so like a kind of new dimension. Like there are so many designers out there, for example, in like automotive design or doing really complex surface modeling, and Gravity Sketch is just perfect for that.
How would you say is the difficulty to use Gravity Sketch? Was it pretty easy to pick up and just kind of get going with it?
It's so easy and intuitive. I think the first hour, like everybody who used Gravity Sketch, can probably relate to that, but at the first hour you just use the normal lines and then go through the whole room and just having fun, and then you use like the surface stuff, and then you try things out, like building a power drill, for example, and then you catch up. Okay, this is like, it's based on sub-D surface modeling, which is also used in Rhino or also one feature in Rhino. And I've seen really great portfolios coming from designers who use Gravity Sketch as the beginning and then input that into Rhino and kind of nailing details and having like the surfaces like functioning really well. So I think that's a new process coming up for industrial design.
So using that to kind of iterate, getting the form right, getting the nice surfaces the way that you want to, but it's not quite, manufacturer ready. So you take what you have built there, bring it into the official programs to rebuild it using that as a reference, right? And then making it properly. Yeah, makes a lot of sense. Dude, the things that you did to build this, oh my gosh. So these are the things that I love. I think you really nailed the parting lines, just having that one there, having the exposed screws, all the different lines and things the shapes that you did for this kind of silver part inside. Even down here, I loved how you broke up these panels, just that red, the one that is just running on the red part there, and then one down the center. Couple parting lines even on this lower panel here. Typically they keep this pretty clean and simple. You decided to break it up because I imagine this is screwed down into the ground, and it's very cool. You took the time out to make these graphics, showing a rough step-by-step 4-step process of how to even use this thing. You plopped it on the inside here, very nicely, well laid out. It's just like these little details that you thought about as far as the user, how they're going to be using this thing when they approach it. They don't know how exactly this works. So you thought about just even down to the instructions.
My personal design perspective is really centered on like user-centered design, or understanding the flow of users, how to use them. Like everybody has like apps on their phone which are, so you go into the app, you have something in mind that you want to do, and it's just a good flow running through the whole app. And I think that's something which is also really important in products, that you have some kind of flow. So this is like a good example of a flow, because you snap that like lock into the left side, then set your own code, lock it or secure it, and then scramble the code again. So it's like one fluent line from like left to right, and then in the middle again. It's not like left, right, middle, left, right.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, the products that we are designing, they're not just this beauty piece that's in 3D. They're eventually a tool for somebody to use and have it be a part of their life and enhance their life. And so it needs to just make sense to them when they are using your product, that it is actually making their life better and not more difficult. Beautiful shots here, just nice hero shots, blank background, well lit, and it looks like you even added some noise texture too, which I always love. And showing the actual chain inside of the nylon cover, very nice. Just the little details that you've thought about designing the product from the inside out, understanding how things work and how things come together, and really well presented in a way where if I were looking at you thinking about hiring you, I can tell that you've had all these considerations thought out and thought through with your product. And I think that's what enhances your portfolio so well. Not only is it just beautiful, not only is it just well laid out, but you're actually a very good designer. You've thought about all these little details, and it really shows very well. Lasse, that was crazy. crazy portfolio. I'm like,
thank you.
I'm like so amazed, and I'm so happy that I'm making videos like this and getting exposure and kind of having the opportunity to pick on your brain and seeing the things that you're doing as a designer, and very happy to share this with the audience. Can you just say one last words?
Sure.
Any students that are getting into the industrial design career, or maybe even students that are kind of struggling with industrial design, do you have any words for them to help them get to the point to where you're at?
Students starting in industrial design or want to start pursuing that kind of career path, it's important, I would say, which kind of university you pick first. Of course, sometimes you can't really choose. You just go somewhere, and if you get the acceptance, then you're in. But for example, we use a lot of SolidWorks in our university. So the industry is also using a lot of SolidWorks, and people who are using other tools have like a hard time. For example, there are internships, interview with potential new internships at the agency I was working for, and they had great portfolios, but they don't use SolidWorks, so they are out just from a hard skill level. So choose the universities, somehow find out which programs they're using, and then which this is really important. I'm also procrastinating a lot on stuff, and I'm not the fastest person in doing iterations, for example. But for me, I find it very joyful to narrow down on details. And one thing that really helps me is having a big Miro board, like big whiteboard with everything that you see, which is kind of related to the product that you want to do, and then understanding the products which are already on the market, which helped me, for example, a lot on the the engineering part of the first concept or the first product. Just gathering a lot of information, just gather, and then do post-it notes, write down your learnings, or try to understand what you see, and just that you have it somewhere is really helpful, because you can always go back on your boards, and if you're stuck in design process, then you just go back and see, okay, those people are resolving the same problem in this kind of way. Maybe I can try to use that. And for me, it's really hard to just design out of my head. I'm good at like problem solving, but not in doing actual design. I have to get a lot of inspiration from outside. So for me, that was really helpful to have that kind of big boards. And I think the third point that I'm learning right now is just network. Maybe I have a decent portfolio. There are a lot of portfolios out there which are even crazy what people can design. I'm always impressed and humbled to kind of learn also from them.
S tier, absolutely, for your portfolio.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Yo designers, hope you enjoyed that episode of Portfolio Pinup. I want to keep this going, so if you want to be able to be on the next episode of Portfolio Pinup, get feedback from me, go ahead and shoot me an email. The link should be down below in the description. I'd really love to hear from you, so have your portfolio ready and we could figure out the details from there. All right, guys, I'll see you in the next episode. Peace.